Well, I want to talk about the email that went out, if you guys are up to it.
Yeah,
Jeremy, if you're still with us consciously,
I'm in.
uh, this is for the BBC coverage. Key U.S. agencies tell staff not to answer Musk email on what they did last week. So this email went out. Probably a lot of people saw it. It got screenshotted. It got shared on X. And federal employees were asked to respond by saying 5 things they had accomplished last week. And I mean, really, mainstream media seemed like federal workers kind of panicked over this request that they explain how they spent the week, what they accomplished.
Yeah.
It's this says that key U.S. departments within the Trump administration have told staff not to comply with a Saturday email from Elon Musk's cost-cutting initiative asking what they accomplished in the past week. The FBI, State Department, and Pentagon were among the agencies that instructed employees not to answer messages. Other departments heads have advised staff to comply, while some told workers to wait for further guidance before responding. They had until today to respond. I think it's end of business
EO
today.
day. Yeah.
And they said, don't attach anything that's security clearance, don't discuss whatever. Like there were a couple modifications here saying like, don't just break national protocol. Do you think this is a crazy request, Jeremy?
I mean, no, of course not. I'd be willing to bet that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people on the federal payroll that don't even work there anymore, and they're just collecting a check, like Milton Wadhams in Office Space.
Yeah.
And like, I strongly suspect that there's not any so expecting to reply to some very simple questions is not over the line. I saw like the left was like, oh my God, some of these people work in the forestry department and they don't even check their email every week. Well, you probably should. And it's pretty clear that you would have heard of it by now. Like it's being covered everywhere. And if you have nothing to hide, then I don't know what you're worried about. You know, I don't understand I don't know the, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the sympathy. Like, have you worked? I had to answer this question every day of my life in the private sector. What are they talking about? Of course I have to, like, what do you have? What did I do today? Yeah, that's a question that everybody has had to answer. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the average, and the average person would be able to answer the question as well.
Yes.
Like, oh, what did I do in the last week? Oh, I made 20 videos. I did 5 live streams plus 2 with you guys, and started editing a book and puttered around in the garden and started planning things. It's easy if you're being productive. I think that the whole point is to show the public that most government workers aren't productive. There's a reason why they're telling them not to respond. There's a reason why many of them won't respond. And if they can't list a few things that they've accomplished in the last week, if they haven't done anything, if they just sat there watching TV and doom scrolling on Twitter or something like that, they shouldn't be employed. They're not an essential worker. We'll save so many billions of dollars. I think that's the whole point. I think the main point is to get rid of the non-essential workforce.
I'd be willing to bet you that there are as many as 10,000 people that will not respond to this email. Now, the left is trying to say, like, yeah, more. The left is trying to say, like, oh, there's a major rift between Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard and Elon. All that they said, too, by the way, was like, yo, just let me handle this. And I don't blame them for that. Like, Elon is not the boss of the FBI. So if I'm Kash Patel, I'm like, yo, Elon, love you. Love what you do in Doge, but let a brother move his box in, please. And let me worry about
have a boundary here.
Yeah, you don't run the FBI. The same with Tulsi Gabbard. But the media's like, ooh, epic burn. Like, they're turning on Elon. I'm like, nah, they're just people who are in charge of their departments, like any normal person, reacting like any normal person would. Like, nah, dude, let me handle this. I know, you know, I'm gonna talk to him. Yeah.
I think the question is good. I think it's fair for people to be like, you know, after weeks of it being like Trump is a puppet and Elon Musk's in charge, like then when people are like, hey, Elon, like I'm with you on the objective of slimming the government, I'm going to handle it on my own or whatever. Like,
yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Then you're suddenly like, no, crazy. How could you guys are all falling apart? It seems like too much of a swing. And I think there are definitely departments that could answer this question pretty quickly. I mean, I think there are a lot of bureaucrats that are really there to do nothing. I remember I worked for a PR company at one point, and at the end of they wanted us to do it every day, but definitely by the end of the week, you had to bill your hours, right? So you're like, I worked for this client for, I did 2.5 hours on Monday working for them, and then on Wednesday I was in an hour-long call, and by the end you can see kind of percentage-wise. I think auditing the government in this way seems not even offensive. Like, they're not even saying like, we'll decide if you are good at your job. They're saying like, well, so what is your job?
Right.
Explain to us what's going on here. Again, once again, we are totally in. Are you even doing it? I mean, if this is your job, like, what does it take to accomplish this in a week?
Yeah, very reasonable questions. Yeah.
This last week, I went to the water cooler several times. I shuffled papers around on my desk while mumbling myself. I scrolled around on my phone, talked to a coworker a couple of times, and took a piss. That's going to be like the average federal worker, I think, considering how inefficient and slow it is. That's what they're afraid of. That's why they're flipping out.
Yeah, that's the real reason. Yeah, they're like, oh shit, I've been coasting on Easy Street for the past, 2-3 months.
2-3 months, 2-3 years.
Years, right.
Or even decades in some cases. Some of these people, they've been employed literally to shuffle papers around on a desk for an extended period. The same is true of education, like when Trump goes for the Department of Education. It's very interesting to see people flipping out about that. Number one, because the Department of Education really, really enhanced the educational attainment of the average American. And number two, you've had stories where teachers are effectively on leave. They still have to come in, but they go to the break room. And what do? They're just on their phone or watching TV or something like that, but they're still getting paid.
Right. There are some places where teachers are on leave, and then there are other places where schools are like, we're going to go to 4 days a week because we don't have enough teachers. Like, there's obviously something wrong here. And the response was immediately, actually, Trump doesn't understand that the federal government has nothing to do with schools. You're like, so then what are we even doing with the Department of Education?
Yeah. So earlier when I was on Piers Morgan Live, Uncensored or whatever it's called, they posted this question to the leftists that were on the panel, and like, even Piers Morgan was like, regular Americans don't give a flip about this. Everybody who works in America gets asked what the hell they did that week. Like, either that, or they work under a watchful eye of a boss who knows what they did that week, or they have quotas, or they have. So this whole thing, they're like, oh heavens to Murgatroyd. Federal employees are going to have to say what a tyrannical thing. It's like, it's so, because this is like the third week in a row now where mainstream media has tried to like curry public favor for these people, but no one gives a crap. They're like, what are you talking about? We all have to do this. We all have performance reviews. What are you crying about? Do your job. Yeah,
and if you are doing your job, then continue doing it. But a lot of these people, they've gotten a little bit lazy, it seems.
Well, and it would be not fun if you got that email, but you were like, but I was, out sick for 3 days this week, so I don't look like I have accomplished not. But like, surely any kind of record in the bureaucracy would reflect that. And also maybe it's a good wake-up call. Like, I don't know. I think asking these people like, but what did you accomplish? Like, what did you get done? I'm sure you don't want to lose your income. I'm sure you don't want to lose your job. On the other hand, like, maybe you should look at how you're spending your life. Like, if you're spending 40 hours a week staring at a screen, but actually you're doing nothing, like, is that actually good for you at all? You could be selfish in this moment. But maybe that's just coming from me. My husband's like the most productive person I know, and there are definitely days like on the weekend that why are you coughing?
Excuse me. Sorry, I had this weird thing in my throat.
Dude, my loyalty is to my husband above all, team. I'm not going to say you're more productive than him, although you also work really hard. But like, especially I remember early in my pregnancy, like, I was really sick, and he would like come back from like the gym having like, I don't know, done whatever. And I was like, I am such a like lazy person.
Yeah,
I
I've done
haven't done
nothing. Yeah.
anything. Right. Like, but there's an excuse in that sense. Like, if you're a federal worker who's like, we're going on year 6 of me having done nothing, like maybe you should take a hard look in the mirror and be like, I need to reevaluate my life.
And it's wild the way the media's like, think of the job. Like, look,
think of the federal employees.
Yeah, like, look, if they're that great, they'll bounce back. You know, like, you cut once, you cut deep when you do these kind of layoffs. So, like, if they're that great, like even Jesse Waters was like, a military friend of mine got fired because he was probationary. That's just not right. It's like, yo, Jesse Waters, just because you served in the military doesn't mean I'm supposed to pay a lifetime salary for you. Like, that's not how this stuff works. Like, he's a war hero. Okay, cool. But like, I don't have to pay his salary.
Probationary war hero?
So basically,
he was one of the probationary people that got cut, but he happened to also be a veteran.
Oh, okay.
And Jesse Waters was like, but think of the veterans. I'm like, see, Fox News is just as garbage. Like, just because he's a veteran doesn't mean he's the right guy for that job or that he deserves it. So get out of here. And if he is that guy, he'll get a job again.
It's like, okay, I served in the Persian Gulf for a while. Now you have to pay me for the rest of my life. The taxpayers have to subsidize me, and I don't have to do jack shit.
Right.
That's basically.
And I get
the
like
argument.
loyalty among military members or people who are, you know, sympathetic to the military. I remember my brother's in the Marine Corps, and he was like, he wanted to get deployed internationally because he's like, there's like that makes you a real Marine. Like, it makes you like there's a prestige. Like, if again, I didn't serve in the military. I'm grateful for those who did, but like, if you just kind of hung out and did a desk job here, I don't know that it's exactly the same thing as someone who really is
a brave soldier who put his life on the line.
Just like Dan Crenshaw.
Right, Dan Crenshaw, yeah. Or like
Dan Crenshaw does not want to be asked what he accomplished this week.
Well, there's a lot of people in the military that their job is to make PowerPoints, okay?
Yeah.
They might have a very good, important job, an intel job, but let's not soapbox about this guy's a war hero. He got paid for his time in the service, okay? He has his retirement plan, all that stuff. Don't do this appeal to the emotion crap. Like, think of the veterans. No, it sucks. It's not everybody that works for the IRS isn't some like bloodthirsty monster. But you know what? If they're a really good accountant, they'll get a job in a private firm. Or, in 2 months when the IRS starts refilling positions, they'll probably have a fast track to getting a job again.
Oh,
did our Rumble stream just go down?